Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session for Innovate to Build, the ABCs of Building Better Outcomes. My name is Tanya Dami, and I'm pleased to be your moderator today. Today, you'll discover insights that led to the creation of the fully automated 137 square foot manufacturing facility Horizon and the lessons learned since its launch. Just before we get started, as a reminder, we'll be taking questions at the end of today's session. You may type them in the live chat. All right, let's begin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion, part of the Innovate to Build event here at Greatech. My name is Brandon Ionata, Senior Solution Line Director for our Struxoft IP Solutions. This session is called the ABCs of Building Better Outcomes, Advanced Manufacturing plus Building Systems plus Collaboration. Just a quick note before we get started. There will be a live Q&A session for you to join and ask your questions to our panel guests immediately following our discussion. As a software company, we at Greatech strive to be leaders in digital and construction technology. Part of this commitment to our clients and industry is to pursue knowledge and seek discussions surrounding disruptive technologies and companies that are consistently pushing the boundaries and forcing the evolution of the construction industry on a global scale. Today, we have assembled 4 pioneers within the industry who have made it their daily mission to push those boundaries and evolve our world. First up is Ola Skoglund, COO, Randek Robotic Divisions. Ola has more than 27 years experience in advanced industrial automation, including mechanical engineering, product development, and product management of large-scale projects. He joined Randek in 2013 as a head of their projects department and became chief operating officer in 2018. Randek is one of the world's largest suppliers of high-performance machines and complete systems for effective house manufacturing. With 90% of the production being exported from their factories in Sweden, Randek is a global supplier of complete systems. The robotics division that Ola heads up combines innovative cutting-edge industrial robotics with Randek's proven machine technologies, creating bespoke solutions for their customers. Since Randek brought this industrial robotics experience to prefabricated housing at scale, it has revolutionized major parts of the construction industry and sparked the way for the next generation of equipment and data handling in an industry that has not matched the progress of other industries when it comes to adopting modern methods of manufacturing. Joining us as well will be Nick Kubre, CEO of Howick. Nick Kubre, CEO of Howick, is the driver in the company's pursuit of innovation. He is the third generation of Kubres to champion the family-owned business and has been involved in framing technology and industry development since his late teens. After earning his stripes on the shop floor assembling machines, Nick went on to head Howick's UK office for 7 years, laying the groundwork which established the UK and Europe as Howick's largest export markets. He also spent significant time with US-based customers and has taken the lead in a number of collaborative projects, which eventually became customer feedback-led standard features across the industry. Nick has developed deep understanding of the global construction industry and technology across Howick's global user base, from simple construction projects to high-tech installations. His focus now is on driving Howick's team to continue to evolve technologies for better building and in advocating for more efficient and sustainable construction practices throughout the industry. Sean Weston spent 4 years in the automotive industry following a degree in engineering before joining Weston Homes. In his early construction career, he gained grassroots experience in multiple trades while also achieving a first-class BSc degree in construction management. From there, he became a site manager, holding this position for 3 years before moving into senior management and joining the Weston Homes board in 2017. In the position of managing director of Weston Logistics, Sean developed the Weston Group's first MMC systems, which led to the incorporation of British Offsite in 2020. Since then, Sean has overseen offsite construction of 1,000 new homes and the completion of British Offsite's second factory with capacity to deliver 4,000 homes every year. Sean's personal philosophy of innovation and continuous improvement is driving British Offsite's reputation as a leading high-tech manufacturer where automotive construction and logistics industries meet. And finally, our host and our moderator, Dave Cooper, who is an industry expert in the global industrialized construction sector, covering the latest developments in buildings, financing, technology, and modern methods of construction throughout his online platform, I should say, Dave Cooper Live. Dave travels the world, bringing market awareness to the groundbreaking solutions that help us build more efficiently, safely, and sustainably. Twice a week, he hosts a live show featuring the innovators driving transformation within the built environment. You can catch him on all the social media channels and, of course, subscribe to his YouTube channel, Dave Cooper Live. That's it for me. Dave, I hand the discussion over to you.
Hey, well, thank you. And what an awesome introduction, Brandon. Really do appreciate it. In fact, all of these gentlemen have been on the Dave Cooper Live show at one time or another. So it's a real honor to be here doing this. So this is an incredible story of crawl, walk, run within the realm of industrialized construction, now enabling Weston, who is traditionally a traditional home builder, to achieve faster construction, building better outcomes, product innovation, and scalable solutions, an opportunity to serve a broader scope of work from residential into commercial, education, healthcare, and advanced manufacturing. Building systems and collaboration are the key to this conversation. And I am thrilled to say that not only do I know all of the things that these guys do, I'm excited to share it with you, but I also was at Weston Homes a few short months back with Nick Coubre and the Howick team and others, showcasing what they do, and now it has come to fruition. So, gentlemen, thank you for being with us today.
Great. Thanks for having us, Dave. Brilliant.
Yeah, so we're going to run through this the same way you started, British Offsite and Horizon, the new factory. So we're going to start to crawl. So with that, what I'd like to get into, Sean, tell us a little bit about who you are and who Weston Homes is, and then we can talk a little bit about how that transitioned into your testing facility for panels.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have the benefit of wearing two hats. So I'm managing director of British Offsite, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I'm also main board director of Weston Homes PLC. So we're a house builder that operates in the southeast of England. Probably 90% of what we build is high-rise, high-density urban brownfield renewal, and we deliver about 1,000 homes a year. So it's probably one of the tougher environments to operate a development business in. It's really competitive. We operate in London, like say home counties, and it is a mix of housing and apartments. And that's really what kind of led us on the journey, because we needed solutions which fit all of those opportunities.
So Weston Homes has been around for how many generations now, Sean?
So 35 years. I'm a second generation, so I'm the younger, better looking model. But it's nice to be driving modern methods of construction into a traditional business as the second generation.
Yeah. Well, better looking this week because you didn't have your boxing match that you have coming up, right?
Not yet.
We'll leave that for another conversation. Well, listen. So we have a company. You're a very large, home builder and developer. I think you do things up to 28 stories, if I remember when we were there. So with that said, here you're the youngest one coming in. Were you at the pub and you said, we got to do this better? And you started thinking about a new wall panel system and then said, hey, guys, can you just give me a piece of the warehouse over there so I can test some things? Walk us through this thought process, because this is really how it starts, I think, for everybody out there.
Yeah, so like Brandon said, actually, in my bio, so I was a site manager by trade. Spent a lot of time on construction sites, literally bred into it, as you can imagine. So I saw the good, bad, and ugly of everything that would happen in construction projects. And when I moved into senior management in Weston Homes, I really wanted to improve a particular element of constructing a bathroom. And that's really where the British Offsite journey began. It wasn't in the panelized building system at all. It was kind of my personal frustration as a site manager of trying to get bathrooms finished properly. But equally, because Western Homes operates in a really broad, like say houses, apartments, we do refurbs and all sorts of other bits. All of our solutions had to be flexible enough to integrate into lots of traditional settings. So we started off with the bathroom and really sort of cut our teeth with that. And that's probably, like you said, the walk, crawl, walk, run. That's where it started. And that's where we started gaining our manufacturing experience, even though we're a construction company. And then that led from the bathroom system into more internal fit out. So it was kitchen, bedroom and bathroom. And then eventually that led us into our panelized building system, the uni system.
Yeah, and it was great because we did a tour of your manufacturing facility. In fact, I think we did a live tour at one point over there. And you really did just have this carved out section in the warehouse with all the Weston Home supplies where you developed this. So that turned in from this small section to 137,000 square foot plant that you call Horizon. Give us just the overrun on that, and then I want to get into some of the conversations with our partners here.
Sure, yeah. So the test line, you're making reference to. So it was almost what we did during lockdown project. We had a really nice brand new warehouse, and I really upset my operations director because I said, look, I know we've been in here for a year, but we're going to take half the racking down. We're going to do something different. So he was delighted. And we couldn't really access the conventional supply chain for machinery. So we actually built the production line in conjunction with a local engineering company. And we only ever planned on building enough Unisystem, which is, a Unisystem is an advanced 2D panel system. So it's light gauge steel, but it's got more stuff on it, more added value than we think any other product in the market. So light gauge steel, sheathing boards both sides, insulation, cavity insulation, facade support system, window, fire stopping, EPDMs, service penetrations, everything up to the facade. So you can still make the building look however you want. You've got architectural freedom. So that manual production line, though, we only ever intended running 2 projects on that, at about 400 homes. And 2 years later, we'd managed to deliver over 1,000 homes off of it. But having that production line was absolutely critical in the development process, which led us to Horizon. I think we had jumped straight into 137,000 square foot of automation. It probably would have been far less successful. It was really important to have built that knowledge over time, the do's and don'ts, buttons to push and levers to pull, but or not to, as the case may be. But as we went through that 1,000 homes, that really gave us the knowledge to engage with Randek and engage with Howick on exactly what we wanted the new factory to look like.
You know what, and I will tell you, everybody out there, when you say there's a lot of innovation in this wall panel system, from MEPs to windows to even pouring the concrete on the second floor above, I'm telling you, there's a lot to unpack here, and this is going to be a great conversation. But you didn't do it alone. You had some great partners in this. Nick Coubray, I remember when we went there, your machines were sitting in the corner and they were printing out, the cold form steel, metal studs, flooring, all the stuff that's there. Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about who Howick Ltd is, who you are, and then we'll continue from there.
Yes, thanks, Dave. So Howick is, as Brandon said at the start, family business. We've been around for about 45 years, mainly in the roll forming space, and in the last sort of 25 years, mainly in the construction side of things. But we still do a bit of custom stuff and a bit of learnings from other industries as well. So, yeah, and again, I've been with the company for a very long time, doing a bit of everything, get to travel the world and see all these interesting factories and what people are trying to do. So it's a good ride. And just leaning on what Sean was saying, this kind of crawl, walk, run is what more people need to do. We quite often see people go the other way, where they start running and end up crawling just because they don't think it through.
Yeah, and I believe that. I see Ola down there. He's shaking his head at yes as well, and we're going to come to you in a minute, Ola. But I will tell you, Nick, you are a family-run business. You get to work with your brothers. We have a lot of fun when I see you out and about, in different parts of the world, which is great because you guys are all putting the effort in to make this happen. British Offsite. Let's get back to how did the conversation start? Was it Sean that reached out to you and said, hey, listen, man, we need some cold form steel rolling machines because I got this great idea and you got to help me be successful so my aunts, uncles, dad, grandfather don't kill me?
Yeah, so it sort of started off as a standard machine sort of thing as that crawl piece came in. So the initial kind of feeling out of what they wanted and what they needed, we started with a fairly standard machine, and has to say that as the new factories coming online and we're developing some new gear, there was a lot of backwards and forwards and a lot of kind of design discussions around what works for us, what works for them, what works for Ola and their team as well, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. There's some compromises everybody's got to make. So we put that first machine in, and it's been fairly successful as far as developing the product out and getting enough product out there to understand where those critical pieces lie. The next machine, which is on its way soon, has got a few new developments and a few new bits and pieces that should help the line feed a bit better and help the whole process. And then I'm sure we'll learn more from that and we'll go forward again. So that speeding up never really stops as long as we're sort of all talking to each other.
Yeah. Were there any early learns when you started this process and working with Sean and his team, that you want to share with anybody?
It's really just understanding the process of what they were trying to achieve. As always, when you get into a new project at first, you sort of got the blinkers on a bit because it's something new and you want to deliver as quickly as possible. But visiting site is always a great thing. So we did that site tour with Sean and the team and understands exactly what's going on and what's important and what's not. So those are things that I'd highly recommend that people look to do when they're trying to develop any system, is involve the people that are further down the chain or above in design in those spaces as well, because lean on people to get the learnings. You don't have to do it all by yourself as long as you know what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, that's the team and the collaboration approach, and we talk about that a lot in our industry. There's so much room for all of us to work together and really help us build it better. All right, Ola, I know you've been waiting there patiently, and I saw you shaking your head a little bit there, and I'm super excited to talk about this and your zero labor line and all the fun stuff that's kind of brought all of this together along with Howick and Sean and his team. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who is Randek, how long you've been in business, because you guys are in the United States and working around the world from Europe. So talk to us a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Randek is one of the major players in delivering total solutions for the offsite construction market, complete systems down to simple aids for the industry, you could say. And that's one of our big benefits, that we have such a big portfolio of different machinery which we can combine and adapt to the customers. It's a family-owned business, two families that are owning the business in the second generation. The company started back in the 40s, and the off-site stuff, you could say, really took off in the 60s. And the focus has always been on innovation and trying to push the envelope, so to speak, regarding automation and getting rid of dangerous, dull, dirty, dangerous jobs and so on, trying to maximize the output for our customers and the efficiency while doing it safely, I would say.
And you guys are not only doing this in wood, but cold form steel, obviously.
Yeah, our main market is the wood market, of course, and we done some smaller projects in the light gauge steel when this opportunity came up. I think also Nick was involved in one of the other projects that we did prior to this. And then this question came up from Sean and the guys, and I must say it's been an amazing project. And I'm so impressed by the steps taken and the correct way it's been handled all the way by all participants. It's a model example, I would say. For us, it was a lot of adaptation of the system itself to handle the LGS system, which turned out fine, but of course we had some bumps on the way, and I think also the collaboration between the companies, the openness, really helped the process along. And also, as Sean said, the other factory, the first factory, which we were invited to early, so we could see the unit system in work and the machinery that was there and kind of discuss around it and try to chisel out the way in which we want to go. So it's been super fun.
Yeah. Talk to us about the zero labor line. This is a line that you put in to Horizon. Can you tell us, what's unique about it?
Well, I would say the whole line is bespoke for Sean and the guys at Weston. It's a custom line based on standard machinery. The zero labors are standard in themselves, but there's so much adaptation around the system and so much work together with Weston and also Howick in how to handle the different systems, how to handle the profile, which methods we use and how we apply them and how we make the most of the efficiency. A lot about the installation process. There's a lot of firsts, I would say, in this line, first in the world, definitely. And it's, to my knowledge, probably the most advanced and biggest LGS line with the most automation in the world, to my knowledge, today.
I mean, that's outstanding. How did, just curious, how did the conversation begin between the three of you?
I'll jump in, actually. Probably these two getting annoyed with a customer that knew what they wanted to achieve, but not really the right way to go about it. And I would absolutely, I would never be disingenuous. You know, I think we knew what we wanted from our product, and we had to keep an open mind to really listen to our supply chain, you know, in Nick and Ula, and, you know, do this, don't do that. There were a few things that, you know, we did go backwards and forwards on. I mean, actually, our zero labour line, we started off with a screwed solution, then we went to nailing, then we went back to screwing, and we finished on nailing. So, you know, that's a good example of where you really have to be working with the team around you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You bring up a really good point. And and I know it's been important, but when you're looking at doing this, you know, making sure you make the right decisions for the right partners to do this is critical. How did you come about that, Sean, you know, with using Howick and Randek?
Do you know what? I think it'd be really difficult to kind of set some rules for that. Both with Howick and with Randek, you know, we were in plenty of conversations and dialogue with their competitors out in the industry. And in actual fact, we ended up selecting both of their companies, not just for quality and price, you know, those things are really, really important, but I think kind of their attitude and approach to doing something a little off the beaten path, something that needed a little customization without necessarily doing something completely bespoke. You know, and some of their competitors in the industry, you know, take a very, very standardized approach. It's like, your product needs to do this to fit our machinery. And neither of these companies took that approach, and that was really important to us.
When you were sitting there and you were trying to think about what output was needed or throughput through, how did you guys come up with calculating, you know, what machines you need, you know, how many cold form, you know, Howick machines did you need, you know, to walk us through this? And like you said, Ola, even on your end too, you know, with this line and this custom line, there's a lot of tweaking that has to go because everything has to be in sync. So maybe walk us through, how did you calculate what you could potentially do out of this to make it worth the value of doing the Horizon factory? And I'll start with you, Sean, and then Ola and Nick, I'd like you to chime in on, you know, your parts of, you know, that puzzle.
See, we probably approach it from a little bit of an unusual position because Weston Homes is the kind of the breadwinner in our organisation. British Offsite wants to make the product as cheap as possible for our sister company. And although it might sound a little counterintuitive, we've kind of started off with, right, if we want to make it cost this much, you know, end unit cost, what does the production process and therefore the equipment need to look like? If we want it to cost this much, so on, so on, so on. And it's a bit unusual because Weston Homes delivers 1,000 homes a year. And, you know, like we've spoken about, the Horizon factory can do 4 comfortably on 2 shifts and maybe even go up to 6.5, 7 if we run it flat out. And, you know, we're probably, like I say, unusual that we were happy to say we want the lowest product cost for the sister company. Therefore, we're happy to take the risk on investment on a bigger, more productive, more efficient production line. And then that also gives us the kind of, it's a double-edged sword, you know, it's risk and reward. We have a lot of spare capacity that we can then sell out into, you know, even our competitors in the industry. But ultimately, it's making our own process as efficient and cost-effective as possible.
Yeah. Nick, how about yourself when you were looking at this entire line and now you're working with one of the biggest robotic, you know, companies in the industry, Randek, and then you have a shared, you know, customer who was Weston Homes, British Offsite at the time. What ups and downs did you see, or where was your learns in all of this, and how to plug your systems into all of their systems? Because I'm sure that played a part in this.
Yeah, it was always challenging that, and I think the approach Sean's taken here is where they've kind of selected vendors and from a group of vendors, but they've actually got us talking together. That's quite a big piece. Like we walk into some projects in the complete opposite situation where no one's going to tell us who the other vendors are, so you can't work with them, you can't develop things. So fairly early on, once we've got that test plant up and running, the next kind of wave of it was involving the right people to talk about how we're going to deliver this. Where's your bottleneck? Where's my bottleneck? What do we do to overcome them? And I'd hazard to say that we probably both have made some compromises in some ways to accommodate things that the others need. That's always the big piece of it, and it takes time. It's not a kind of we're going to do this tomorrow, and this is the machine we need. It actually went back and forwards. It always takes longer than you'd expect. I mean, there's probably 20 or 30 phone calls with different people just trying to nail all those details down so that we know what we're delivering. So all going well, everything connects smoothly and carries on. So little things like we have to do little software updates and little changes to handle feeding a robot line. It's not as simple as just dropping a standard framing machine onto the floor and then saying we'll deal with this later. We have to think about it now, not when it's on the floor. Those are sort of the bigger pieces of it. And again, understanding that kind of end process now, getting to sit down with the team at Weston and actually walk through from the door at one end to the door at the other end. We're a piece in the middle, but being told and shown that whole process along the way, we can at least give some ideas of, well, if you do this here, it may have an effect down the line. So we should discuss that, even though it's not our part.
Well, I mean, that's exactly it. And from, all the manufacturing facilities that I've been in around the world, everything when you get into robots and machines that have to communicate with each other, or they have to be in sync with each other if they're not directly communicating. So one tweak on one robot, Ola, you can tell me this, right? One tweak on one robot means you're tweaking all of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a process. Yeah. Well, I'd like to pick up where Nick left off there. I think it's not often that we as machine suppliers get the opportunity to get this involved also and have the opportunity to somewhat affect the product or have this discussion. It's like when I worked in normal automation outside the offsite construction industry, often the machine supplier comes in very late and you're just presented with a fixed product and you have to try to work around a lot of things. And you keep thinking, well, if they called us earlier, we could have done this and that, and we could have saved on machinery, we could have saved on cycle time, we could have optimized this much more. And I mean, in many cases in this industry, it's just not possible because it's products that's been running for many, many years. So in best case, you can come with your experience. You can try to talk a little about design for manufacture, the DFMA, and effectivize some of the design. But here we were in much earlier, and we were a part of the team, and we changed our machinery. We developed new machinery. We adapted and put a lot of work in discussions together with Weston and Howick in what should be automated, what should be semi-automated, where should we put the money, so to speak. And it's just a fantastic opportunity and, as I said earlier, a fantastic project to be a part of.
You guys used virtual reality for this. I remember, Sean, we were sitting in your office and you had somebody working on an Xbox or something, or I don't remember what it was, but you wrote your own, software. And this led me to a question, Ola, for you, because you had a virtual reality headset that I put on at one of the shows I saw you at. Was that the Horizon line? Because I think you were showing me the zero labor line at that show. That's question number one, just from my own personal knowledge. But question number two, how important was it making the investment in this virtual layout to truly understand what you could do and how you could do it? Sean, I'll start with you since you first did the old virtual sketch out I thought was pretty darn good for amateurs.
So yeah, thanks for that. No, look, I think things like the digital twin are really important. Underpinning the digital twin and without going necessarily too nuts and bolts, a really, really good quality value stream mapping exercise. Like we've insinuated, we had the benefit of a manual production line, and we did several iterations of mapping exactly how our manual production line worked, and then translating that into various factory layouts. And like Ola said there, learning and figuring out what to automate, what not to automate. If you're trying to solve a problem which doesn't exist, or missing something really fundamental. So really great quality value stream mapping exercise to inform factory layout. Then once you actually get into the factory layout, particularly if you ever see the Horizon factory, space is quite tight. We don't have an abundance of floor area. So, having things like the VR headsets and allowing our workforce to effectively go into their production cell and place tools, place parts, to make sure that we can achieve the value stream map. That's actually, started off, a bit of a, not quite a gimmick, but, communications tool. And in actual fact, it was really critical in making sure we could achieve the value stream map, and that the project was successful and we got our return.
Yeah, great. And, Ola, you guys had that mapped out in that virtual reality. Talk to us a little bit, and Sean used the correct word there, digital twin within that virtual reality world. Ola, talk to us a little bit about how important this digital twin is when setting up manufacturing facilities, especially when you have the equipment you have.
Yeah, actually, when we developed the line for British, we weren't as far along as we were when I met you last time, and we looked at the real digital twin, since the data transfer of these lines are quite complex, since it's an unknown until you put it in the system. There's no fixed programs like in regular automations. You really need to hook up the digital twin all the way through the PLC robot controls, through the controlled computers, through the HMI, all the way to the office to get the right data stream to create a real digital twin. So it's really, really advanced, something we've been able to do now. But for the British Offsite, we still had, let's say, simulations, 3D material to work with, of course. So it was a pre-stage to what we're able to do now. But we can see so much value in it now. So we're trying to progress that technology all the time. We're at the stage where we can test run walls virtually and see some of the problems or solutions that can come up early for different. As I said many times before, when I started in this, and you see a house, you see a wall, well, kind of looks the same, not to step on anyone's toes, but there's so many different ways a wall can be built you couldn't imagine. When you start picking into it, it's like, it's so different and we work in different countries, so it's an invaluable tool, or will be for us in the future, I'm sure of it. And everything is going digitalized, so, it's the future.
No, it definitely is. All right, so we're up and running now. Can we talk about productivity increases, Sean? Is British Offsite hitting its productivity targets? And can you talk about what those increases look like? Are we still crawling? Or are we walking in the factory and getting ready to run? You did mention that you could really ramp it up if you had to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've started off in the manual production line doing around 30,000 square meters of product a year. If we extrapolate out what we can do in Horizon to full capacity, on 2 shifts, we're at 300,000 square meters a year. And if we really go the whole hog, we're probably maybe knocking on the door of 500,000 square meters a year. So the productivity gains are absolutely ginormous. In terms of getting that line started, and bringing it up to speed. Right now we're working on 1 shift, so we run a 6 till 2. But we designed the production line so there's, after the automation and we're doing the manual work, 5 aisles that we can turn on and off dependent on capacity and demand. So we're now getting to a point where we've been running 2 of those aisles, so effectively running at a 40% capacity. So, in actual fact, we've secured some orders at the beginning of this year, and we're looking forward to stretching its legs a little bit. But we've done some tests, so without necessarily having to run the line full speed, we've done cycle time tests at various points. We're really pleased. I was really pleased that we managed to actually outperform the value stream map slightly. And having secured a significant amount of funding over a period of time, it's kind of a weight off your mind knowing that you're going to get the return on your machinery, but you never really quite know that moment until you've done it, till you're out there and the guys are working it. So yeah, we're pleased with that.
Do you have overflow product now? I mean, or have you hit that market yet to where you're servicing and supplying your competitors, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we actually just secured at the beginning of this year our first external clients. So that is social housing in the UK. But we're out there at the moment looking at emergency housing. We actually just agreed today we're going to go to the Disaster Expo in Germany in May. So getting out into those other sectors is a really useful tool actually, because the development residential market's cyclical. So to back that off with other sectors is great. But it's good to know that we can be out there and the automation and the machinery and the production process gives us confidence that we can deliver on what we're promising. It's not just talk.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So, I know that was kind of the goal moving forward, so that's great to hear. Nick, I got a question for you. We have seen, you and I have been in this industry a long time, all of us have. We've seen failures in the industrialized construction space. So, when you're interviewing clients, to kind of see what the best value, offer, quality, et cetera, would be for them, and they're interviewing you. Are you also interviewing them as well? What questions are you asking potential clients to make sure that you're helping set them up for success and not sprint to failure? Because earlier we were mentioning about, you see a lot of companies that go running and then they find themselves crawling and, out of business. You also you need to be part of wins, not a part of failures. It doesn't do anybody any good. What do you do and what do you look for in clients?
Yeah, exactly. As you're saying, it really is trying to understand that they know what they want. Quite often we go into these things and, hey, we want to build everything. So, well, you can build everything and you can build anything, but you've got to start with something. And that's through this process. These guys had a very defined, these are the types of buildings we build. These are how high we build. This is how strong stuff needs to be. You walk into some of the projects and it's, we're going to build single-story houses, we're going to build 30-story buildings, we're going to build off-site modules for worker accommodation, we're going to build all these different things, but we don't have a plan on one of them that we actually want to deliver first. And I think that's been the big key, especially for us when we're talking to people, is if you know what you want, we can recommend the right sort of gear. And if you don't know what you want, you end up with kind of everything's compromised in every direction. So you can do it and you can eventually be successful at it. But if you start with, like Sean did, bathrooms, we're going to get the bathroom right. Once we've got the bathroom right, we're going to move to the kitchen. Once we've got the kitchen right, we're going to move to the walls. And then we're going to start with one story and go up to 14, 15, 30, where we're going to go. There's a progression. That's what we look for. Is that they're our favourite sort of people to work with because they know what they want. Now, it makes it easy for us, and we know what we're trying to deliver. So, and I imagine it's pretty much the same with the robot lines, and I imagine you have the same issues where people say, I want some robots because they're going to save me some money. Doesn't quite work like that.
Well, and I mean, this is really important for people out there to know, right? And Sean, you can nod yes or no if I'm right or wrong on this, but you basically become an extension of, the British Offsite Horizon team. Right. You become eyes and ears of people that have been working on these types of, projects, with your equipment, from Randek, with Howick. So you're seeing a little bit of everything all over the place. My guess is you also become a consultant and say, hey, these are some of the lessons we've learned and we've seen, and this is how you can increase your productivity because we have the white papers on this and know the people that have done it. So you also help them understand their businesses better. Nick, go on that one, and then I'll go to Ola.
That's totally the early engagement thing. Bring everybody in early. Don't wait. Even if you haven't decided who you want to use in the end, it's have that discussion early because that makes all the difference. You'll save yourself 12 months of headaches and hassles just by having a conversation 2 or 3 months earlier.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine, Ola, you didn't walk into, the Horizon factory and have it all, in your mind figured out without hearing what Sean and what their goals were at first. But my guess is as you develop this line, you took your best practices to really come up with something that's given Sean and his team the output that they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Best practices and a really fruitful discussion all along the way with the other suppliers and with Bridge Offsite that resulted in this line. As we said earlier, the general overview of the line and really seeing the points where you need to put your effort in and what to go for and not go for, doing tests together with Bridge Offsite. I mean, we developed a new kind of framing station for Bridge Offsite, which we adapted along the way. And I know the very good workers that Sean has gave us feedback along the way, and we not so long ago still made some improvements or some new steps that makes it easier for them to work on the line. So I think the involvement and the knowledge and also the customer that has the path on where they want to go together with suppliers, I think it's crucial. You save a lot of time, as Nick said.
Yeah, for sure. Ola, how would you recommend other home builders, commercial builders, either entering this space of automation? Like, what would you recommend to them? What would be some of the clarifying questions you would say you need to ask yourself these questions before we truly can work or, have a further dialogue?
Well, the products, of course. Early on, bringing in the suppliers, having the discussion. If it's a proven product that's been long for a number of years, look at product together with the manufacturers, because we work with so many different producers, so we kind of pick up on things, and we, whether we like it or not, become somewhat of experts of design for manufacture in some areas. We're not house builders in any way, but what creates value, what does not create value. I have this thing I used to say: you take a perfectly fine piece of sheet and you cut it up. So does it add value? No, it doesn't. So the more sheets you can put on that you don't have to pre-cut or something, you actually save money, you save effort, you save equipment, you save transport, things like that, So, and also look at the big picture. People get excited when they see robots and Nick's cool machines and stuff like that. And you look at the factory and we can fit it, but you need to see the bigger picture. You need to see all the material supply lines, which side do we want the material to come in, how's the flow, where do we work on the finished materials, how are we planning to transport them to site, on site, how are we planning to erect them. If that changes, the transport changes. If the transport changes, the outfeed changes. If the outfeed changes, the working places change. So you really need to look at the big picture here. Try to get everything. It's a complex. When you're building a new factory, it's a complex task. Just the amenities, the air, the dust extraction, the electricity, the connection points, to get all of that right, to get the right numbers from different suppliers, what they need at the right place, all the specifications for the floor and stuff like that. It's a big project.
Yeah, I listen, absolutely. Nick, I'm sure you agree with all those points as well, yeah?
No, exactly. Simplicity is really hard. It's really easy to make something complex. It's very hard to make it simple. So touching on that, on the steel point, we have a lot of discussions around, people want to value engineer their framing. So they want to mix material gauges and they want to do all these things. It's like when you look at the frame in a typical building structure, we're maybe 10% of the cost. So you're saving 2 or 3% of 10%. It doesn't add up to much, but what you actually find is to save that 2%, you're adding complexity, you're adding more people, you're adding more time. So it's actually the cheap bit is a little bit of steel or extra steel you put in to, say I'm going to run one thickness for everything. And yes, I'm going to put 2% more steel in the building, but I'm going to lose a process station. I'm going to lose an extra few people. I'm going to lose these things out of the process that just make it easier. And that's, we've worked through some of that stuff as we've kind of really defined as how can we minimize changeovers and minimize differences while still allowing total flexibility. So,
yeah.
Sure.
So, Sean, your wall system is simple on the outside to look at, but it's very complex when you think about how you designed and put it together. I'll still never forget when we were on the, 25th floor and you guys were already doing the fit out on the floors below, right? While you're pouring the concrete on the top. It's an amazing product. And if you're watching this and you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you look at it. It is not your everyday mom and pop wall system. You guys really put a lot behind it. And I have to congratulate on it because I tell everybody about what you guys have done here in the States and when I travel, because I do think it's that cool.
I really, really appreciate that. And I just if I was giving one piece of advice to anyone who's managing a big project like this, I would always advise people, don't be afraid to go backwards to go forwards. Like Nick said, it's easy to make something complicated, and sometimes actually, but the most important thing to do is to take stock and go, do you know what, that's just not working out. Take a slightly different journey. So I just add that on top. But no, I really appreciate the fact you rate Unisystems so much. We're very, very proud of it. But you're right. The kind of the moving parts that go into producing that. The machinery, the production lines. They're obviously very, very important parts of that. But whenever we have anyone into our factory, it is easy to fall in love with robotics. But what you're seeing is the tip of the iceberg. And in actual fact, getting your people, your processes, your software, we have an ERP system running our business in the background, getting your supply chain aligned. There's so many moving parts beneath the waterline on actually running a production facility like this, and particularly with a more complicated product. Things like the windows that we install, they're all project specific. The architect still has ownership of that part of the design. So we have to manage that part of the supply chain very carefully. We have different, from different clients, different things like fire consultants feeding into us, different U values, SAT values, PSI values on joints. So many moving parts that have to be right before you can create a design and feed it into an automated production line.
That's a whole nother masterclass, but we don't have time to go through all those parts and pieces. Sean, if you were to give, a traditional builder like Weston Homes, any advice, and they start going, well, I want to do something similar to what they've done. Maybe it's not a area you service can help them because you put the time, effort in. What would be that piece of advice for that first step on their journey?
Always come and talk to British Offsite first and see if we can sell you something. But, if you're absolutely determined, we're going to do this ourselves. So, I think keep everything simple. Simple, and particularly even when you're getting into design, it's too easy for, the engineer said, and, don't be afraid to challenge the status quo, to keep things simple. If you need a doctorate to work your system, you're wrong, you're done before you've even started. So, be clear about what you want. Nick and Ola have talked about that. Have a specification in mind before you start. Stay the course, keep it simple.
Yeah, stay the course, keep it simple. And I will say one thing about all three of your companies is culture. You guys have amazing cultures at your companies, and I think that says a lot, and that gets everybody pulling in the same direction to make success happen. I think that's amazing. So, all right, Nick, Ola, do you have any last words before we wrap this up and go to a Q&A? We hit it all? Excellent.
I think so.
I love it. All right, everyone. This was quite the masterclass. So thank you all for joining us today. We will be moving to a live Q&A session coming up, and you'll also be able to find everybody's contact information there as well. So Sean, Nick, Ola, wishing you all continued success in everything that you're doing. Hopefully we'll get to come see you again soon. And thank you so much for sharing this story with us. I think it's important for everybody to hear how important, crawling, walking, and then running is for those of you that are looking to move into the offsite space, because offsite is the future. I'm Dave Cooper. Thank you, everybody. You guys have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you at the Q&A.
All right,
Excellent.
thank you so much, everyone. I just want to say a big thank you to Nick, Ola, Sean, Brandon, Dave, and everyone else involved in making this discussion happen. Now we'd like to open the floor to you all, so please go ahead and type in the chat section any questions you may have. As you can see, we have Dave, Brandon, Ola, Sean available here live to answer. Dave, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So hopefully everybody can hear us okay. We are in sunny Florida at the moment, as you can tell, so don't get too jealous out there. But this was one of the most interesting things that we've covered in our travel around the world. In seeing the innovation and the collaboration coming into this industry. Sean, and Ola, it's such a pleasure to not only be able to see the work you do, but also talk with you, collaborate, and learn so much. So thank you for that. Good, good. So, Tanya, we're going to have we have some questions, right? Do we want to start with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll put the question out there to the panel. The first question I see is from Michael Chatine. I hope I'm pronouncing that all right. He says, or he asks, how can offsite and onsite stick frame save energy going forward? Air sealing, new systems, etc. So I'm sure you guys have some strong opinions on this.
Yeah, I think Sean, if you want to approach that, because you're one that really has to deal with that. You got to deal with the codes. You got to deal with all this stuff even after the panels are in place. So, what's your thoughts on that?
So I think by going off-site and effectively producing SFS or stick LGS frames in a production facility, we can make them incredibly airtight and energy efficient, kind of built right into what we're doing. So I mean, for instance, here in the UK, we have a minimum standard of 3 air changes per hour in each dwelling. We get 99% first-time pass rates. Site managers don't even really think about it now, and that's because you're creating something really of a high quality, high energy efficient right there in the factory, repeatedly, time and time again.
Yeah, for sure. And Ola, there's the on-site stuff, and then there's the stuff you guys are doing with your zero labor line systems. The accuracy that Sean's talking about, and being able to use the precision of how you're building, off-site to bring it on-site. How do you stay so dialed into the tolerances and really make that run smoothly, so it's a smooth transition from the factory to what Sean and his crew have to do in the field?
We can't hear you, Ola.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Ola. Yeah.
I think we'll have to come back to you, Ola, on that.
Yeah, so Ola, we're having a hard time hearing you, so I don't know if you're muted or you want to check the settings, but we can definitely come back on that question.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had another question, which was, what are some of the most disruptive technologies that we're seeing come into this industry, into the offsite industry and the construction industry?
Yeah, you know what? I can probably start with that. I think some of the technology and what we're seeing isn't really always about the technology. I think we're seeing new people come into this industry, like Weston Homes. Sean would be a good example, that weren't traditionally in the offsite space, but we're also seeing people that weren't traditionally in the construction space at all. And I think it's really starting to open up people's minds in regards to conversation. We're using data, right? Like, that hasn't been talked about in this industry forever. Like, truly understanding data. How do people live in these properties? How do you build them? Like, what is the complexities? How do people move around the factory? How do people move around the buildings, and really truly trying to understand that? And I think, to me, that's the greatest innovation happening right now, is the conversation has started going to the next level, which this industry has not seen in a long, long time. So, I don't know, Ola, if you're on. There you are.
Yeah, you can hear me now. Yeah, I agree. It's all data driven, and it's not just we as machine suppliers. It's also the factory systems, the customer ERP systems, and everything that needs to connect. So it's a new ballpark for all involved, I would say, and it opened up so much opportunities to manufacture your flow and also your quality, but also your output and your downtime and stuff like that. So. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. How about you, Sean?
Do you know what? Actually, it's quite embryonic at the moment, but and you have to get excited about is AI technology, particularly in the design process. It's still very early doors, but you can already see in Autodesk Fusion 360. I shouldn't say it's a great tech thing, but you can see some of the AI technology come into play in dimensioning drawings, for instance. And I'm excited to see how that's going to develop over the coming years to effectively eliminate out some of the more kind of monotonous processes in design, and see how that shapes the future going forwards.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think AI is going to have a big part, even on the robotics side, Ola, with just reading plans and being able to disseminate, the information easier, and at a high pace. So, yeah, I love it. I think it's great.
Absolutely. I see there may be another question that just came through. All right, perfect. From Simon Bryant, how do you envisage dealing with possible barriers to sale if you expand to other customers having to change their tried and tested building systems and having to adapt yours? So yeah, I mean, paraphrasing, I guess, how do customers adapt and adapt efficiently to these new systems?
Personally, I don't think the customer should have to adapt. I think you should have products which facilitate their designs. I think if you have a product or a system which influences their standard construction process and development process too much, you're kind of not starting in the right point. You should be facilitating what a customer needs.
Yeah, I have to agree. Being on the services side of it, I think you're 100% on the mark, right? The customer should never have to adapt to the system. The system should be, adapting to the customer and providing benefits from the onset. So I think that's the way forward.
Yeah, there's a value add, right? Nobody's going to switch what they're doing unless there's a value add, and if it's too complicated, nobody wants to slow up what they're doing, and if they're busy, they're making money, right? So how do you give them that value add? How do you allow them to do less, do more with less? In other words, less people in our industry working. Can they do more projects by using a system like, Randek and Sean have put in place for their production? And Sean, I mean, you're actually looking to do that, right? This isn't just a self-serve British Offsite and Weston Home. You're looking to help the other builders also take advantage of what you guys have developed. And again, it comes down to how can they do more by using your system versus just status quo. Doesn't make sense to change.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're absolutely right. You touched on it there. We're in the construction industry and the bottom line talks, frankly. So you have to make sure that you're not increasing costs. But then by introducing offsite construction processes, particularly when you're increasing efficiencies through the likes of the Randek systems, the zero labor line, and you really, aggregating together lots of different trades, lots of different touch points, making a client's life simpler, and ultimately doing that for the same price. That's got to be the package that you're looking for. Same money, more productive.
Yeah. I would say also the machinery needs to be flexible even after delivery. I mean, for Sean to spec up his machines to handle 20 different types of sheeting to comply with his potential customers. Maybe that's not possible from the beginning, but it should be possible to add on later on. So you need to have that flexibility because you need to be able to let people create their own unique homes. It shouldn't be standardized too much. It could be more effective, of course, and you can save money by saving materials and work, but you should always be flexible.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Ola, a question for you. Sean, you built this beautiful factory. The collaboration was great. How does the future work once it's implemented, right? Things change. AI is coming in. There's a lot of software. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how your team actually works to, keep everything online, keep it up to par on what's happening in the world? Because, man, technology is changing so fast right now.
Yeah, from our side, we keep close contact with the customers. So, I mean, when we come up with something new, as we have so many improvements since we did the first robotic line back in 2016, 2017, we always make sure that it's retrofittable. We can go out and offer this to the customers, small improvements, new tooling, new ways to minimize dust or whatever it is, like we can offer Sean and his team and other customers that to retrofit it. So it's an important part of it. And I mean, the control and guide systems are really built to be future-proof. We don't know what AI will bring in 10 years, of course, but considering the base systems that's already put in, it's absolutely expandable and can accommodate new versions of programs or more advanced programs if you want to add it later on. So.
Yeah, for sure. So with the future of construction, the future of offsite, do we see it growing? Is it like, where's your world's at? I know obviously Sean, Weston Homes, and you convinced generations of people to say, get out of my way. I'm going to teach you guys how we're going to build this better. And they believed in you and gave you the space and did it. Do you see the future growing in this collaboration that you have done? Do you see it growing bigger with other, maybe collaborators or partners in the future as you expand?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's lots of scope to expand. I think offsite construction has a great future. We actually had one of our trainees in this morning who's writing a dissertation at the moment on modular construction. And one thing which is clear out of a half an hour Q&A session there is that it's not one solution fits all. We've got structural panelized systems. We've got volumetric. Even our own journey, starting off with bathrooms, starting off with something simple and adding. I think ultimately that's what the offsite construction future is going to look like. You think about in the automotive industry, it took 50 years to get from coach building to what we see today. And I think the construction industry and offsite construction is going to go on the exact same journey, over the next 20 years. So, I think baby steps, though, with all these things, baby steps, make sure we're driving good organic innovation.
Yeah. Ola, what are you seeing? You're on the front lines. You're contacted before a factory even breaks ground on anything. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're seeing from the growth perspective, and use Randek as a personal experience? 5 years ago, were you where you are today, or is it like a much different world?
I think the difference today is that it's much more companies are trying to progress much faster. The interest is there for sure. We're very, very busy, and the optimism is quite high at the moment. And I think that a lot of companies have done the homework before they contact us. I think all like these sessions we're doing, like you call it masterclass, I think it's really helping people to think it over one extra time before jumping in, so to speak. But worldwide, it's such a big interest for the systems, and I think that it's now that they're starting to see maybe you could argue that how we build things haven't changed so much, even if I would argue that maybe it has. The machine systems are starting to catch up, and it's starting really to be able to take away a lot of these dangerous jobs that we try to avoid. So, bright future.
Listen, it's great having you guys on this panel, and thank you for the insight on that. Brandon, do you want to add anything? Any questions? Any comments?
Nothing on my end, guys. I really appreciate everybody's input on the panel. I think that this conversation is enlightening, to say the least, and it really proves that the level of collaboration between companies and even sometimes between competitors in the offsite industry is above and beyond what we're typically seeing in construction. So it's nice to be able to sit down and have this conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, thank you both very much. Ola, Sean, is there any last words before we wrap up here? You want to make sure people know about you?
Visit the British Offsite website.
Yeah,
there you go.
Visit Randek website, and thank you to Greatech and Brandon and Dave for having us. I think it's important opportunity to showcase this, both suppliers and producers talking at the same time, so you can see the big picture. Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to coming over and showing all of this good work you're doing. So hopefully in the near future, we'll see you at the factory and maybe some more job sites. I haven't climbed scaffolding on a 28-story building since I've been to your site, Sean. So I'm looking forward to the wobbly walk.
I don't think the weather's going to be quite what you're enjoying out there in Florida today, but you're always welcome to windy, rainy London.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Brandon, thank you very much. I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon, and keep on building it better. That's what we're here for.
All right, everyone. That's all the time we have for today. If you have any further questions, please visit our virtual booth where you can personally message me with any queries or feedback. This session and all the other sessions will be available on demand. Just check back a little later on the platform. All right. Thank you again to everyone who registered. Thank you to the speakers. I hope you're all enjoying Innovate to Build. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.